Hey, welcome everyone to our subscriber stream for this week. Every Thursday I do this. We do game analysis and a little bit of blitz here with the subscribers, primarily on lichess and Twitch. We've got the candidates tournament going on in the background, although the game's pretty much over by this time every night. We had a little discussion just now in the stream about, how many players are kind of like missing a lot of opportunities in these games, but to be fair, I do think that these were really complex positions in a few examples, like today's game in round 5. Today's game around round 5, excuse me. Aronian versus Grishuk was really complex. I mean, the computer says like Aronian was winning in one moment like by +4, but in order to reach that like position, he would have had to find these like insane computer like moves that are almost like unrealizable. So we look at it, in the rear view, what do you call it, backseat driver mode. It's like, but there were some examples like yesterday in round 4. Grishuk missed a pretty obvious winning line against Ding, like bishop h4 check and then bishop f6 and queen g4. This is something that I think he and most players, most strong players over 2500, would be pretty disappointed with themselves not to have found. I'm sure that Grishuk was like devastated when he learned that he could have basically won straight away. So yeah, but the games have been exciting. We have to say that. I mean, I really appreciate. I guess it's kind of like necessary though. It's like, it's basically winner take all tournament, and I mean, I guess there's some prize money or whatever, but the main point is to qualify for the World Championship. So in a way, winner take all type of tournament, I think you are going to see more aggressive play. Nice haircut, thank you. Yeah, but not easy to play these games. So what do we got here? Lots of game analysis suggestions. It's I think I've got Nefedov, Jacob, Tushar, Asterbait, Clash Kid. Santa Claus is not a subscriber, but maybe when Christmas rolls around, he'll decide to subscribe when he gets some money from all the work he does at Christmas time. All right. So anyway, we've got plenty of games to go over, at least 6 so far. And tomorrow, don't forget, I have a Blitz stream. It's like Fast Friday. We're going to do a 2-hour stream tomorrow. My schedule's a little messed up this week because of the time changes. I got to work with some people in the States, and their time is like different. So I'm only going to do a 2-hour stream instead of 2.5 hours tomorrow morning. I think 10 to 12, 5 plus 3 Blitz. If you guys can make it in the morning, that would be great. So let's start off with a challenge game here against Troll in a Roll. Chess 960. I'm gonna start trying to occupy the center more. I said this last game. We've got one lucky St. Patrick's Day. You think that's when he's gonna finally subscribe? Asterbait? Not for Christmas. St. Patrick's Day. Is it St. Patrick's Day? Oh my God. Are you kidding me? When is St. Patrick's Day? E4. Is it St. Patrick's Day and I didn't know? I would have known. I mean, there had to be some news about, there's always that holiday kind of news you see on internet sites and websites and stuff. If it's a holiday, you can't miss it. Threatening queen takes b2. I played the central occupation with e4. Now he's getting hyper modern. Okay. We've got to defend b2. Ben Feingold knows me for more than 25 years. That's right. We never really played very much. I mean, we like probably played like adjacent to each other, or in the same tournaments like a million times. But oddly, we knew each other before we even played. I mean, spectating the same games, playing in the same tournaments with Feingold forever. He's older than me. I don't know how much. Not so much, I guess. He's known me for 25 years. That's right. All right, so f5. f5 here. Troll getting aggressive. What about my queen? How do you feel about a centralized queen? How do we feel about centralizing the queen here? Can't play e5 without dropping a pawn. Troll seems to play faster than he used to. I've said this the last couple games, but I'm serious. He's taking like Ritalin or something. No, I guess Ritalin. I don't know. Does that help? G3. He was calling me Bill. Yeah, Bill is more American. People call me everything. I give up. You know, I try everything. Bill, Will, William, Billy. It's really what you want to call me. It doesn't matter. I accept all. I accept all without discrimination. You can call me Bob if you want to. So, G3, castles queenside. The Billy is kind of, you know, it's sort of childish and disses me, but some people insist on doing that. G3, castles queenside, and I guess we go bishop G2 here. I wasn't that enthralled about getting my queen out there, like probably losing a tempo with like takes of the queen D5, so we can slow that down. I don't think anybody was messaging you, Soltigo. I know Clash Kid. I got your game from Clash Kid. I currently have no more books to read. If anyone knows a good chess book on endings or positional play, please tell me. We'll think about it. Did you read the Uva series on the middle game, which I always recommend to people? The middle game? I mean, I've been recommending that forever since I've been streaming for like 2 years. It's probably my #1 recommendation. My favorite series on the middle game. A positional play, basically. Maybe I should castle now. There's also the possibility of f4. Look how well organized black is. The bishops, rooks, knights. Again, it's like Billy and Willie. All right. Chilly Willy the Penguin is an old cartoon. You may be too young to know about that. All right, knight b6, f4. I'm going to castle queenside, but I have that sort of, you know, backdoor possibility of castling kingside. It's always nice to kind of have that in the back pocket. And I think delaying castling is kind of a tricky and useful way of playing in Chess 960. So, watching the candidates today, I was really disappointed that I thought Aronian would win against Grishuk for sure. This was, I don't know, maybe the last... The tournament is like over a third of the way finished, and I'm assuming that's going to be a draw. Aronian will have like 50%. Caruana has +2. Mamedyarov what has +1, and Kramnik has +1. So I think Aronian had a really golden opportunity. He won the last game against Karyakin. He's got white and a really, you know, his kind of position really against Grishuk, I thought, after the opening, and I thought this was really his opportunity to take some momentum in the tournament, but no. Yesterday, Kramnik could have really solidified a massive edge winning against Caruana, and he didn't do it, so that's 2 days in a row. The lead is really kind of up for grabs. I don't consider, you know, Caruana to be the favorite. And, I mean, somebody has to be the leader after 5 rounds, and Caruana's playing pretty well. People have questioned Caruana's stamina, and maybe it's a valid point. We will see. Aronian might even lose. Okay, I didn't really analyze it really closely. All I know is that when I looked at it with the engine, it was like 0. It was like 0-0-0, which I assumed was like, that's usually some kind of dead draw. But maybe it was just a coincidence. I kind of didn't want to see it. I was so disappointed. But the funniest game of the tournament was yesterday. Kramnik playing the Queen E2 Petrov. I mean, you know, you just assume this is like he's intentionally practically drawing with white. But you got to give kudos to Caruana, because what's going on here? Because actually, maybe Troll miscalculated something. I think this is going to be an issue. Caruana was the one that started to mix things up in a really kind of unnecessary and risky way. And with like G5, G4, he started creating the complications against Kramnik yesterday, and ended up winning. Although, you know, it was a total chaos, and either side could have won. So you got to give him credit for that. You know, I mean, playing for a win on the black side of that position. I don't even know how that was even possible for either side to lose in that opening. Yeah, it's really shocking, isn't it, Tushar? No, I think that Giri is good for Kramnik. I mean, they have a very similar style, and you know, you need someone that kind of understands you. And I really, honestly, I think that Giri could be very good for Kramnik. I could see them working together extremely well. Those guys, I mean, they're like two of the most correct players I can think of. If you know, I try to emulate that kind of style to a certain degree myself, and I think that Giri is a player who could absolutely, you know, relate and understand Kramnik's style probably better than anyone. So I think that's an excellent choice, seriously, for Kramnik as a trainer or a second or whatever. Not to mention Giri's like excellent opening knowledge. So queen takes e5, and here I just figured we're rolling with the central pawns, but it's not obligatory to play d4. I can castle. Sorry guys, I'm like eating a piece of ice here. I can castle, or, you know, my intention was to play d4. I didn't really calculate this though, like d4, okay, you know, he loses time, he has to move the queen away. But I'm gonna have to castle. I'm not that sure I want to do d4 without having castled yet. I really should mobilize. Got a message from somebody. Huh? Alright, I'm trying to get my sort of Twitch chat to work. Somebody was... Okay, I think I got a message from Soltigo, but it wasn't being very... My messenger there wasn't being very cooperative. I think I got the message. Now this is the troll I know and love. He's getting in time pressure. The intention seems to be to play queen a5, which wasn't really on the radar. It's a very straightforward threat here. Queen a5, knight b4, and how do I get rid of him? Looks pretty darn disruptive. But anyway, all right. Knight b4, his b7 pawn, is this relevant, you know? Is this relevant? Can I take, if he plays like knight b4, pawn takes f5? Does taking on b7 have any relevance to what's going on? I mean, he's threatening essentially knight b4 followed by bishop b7 or g7 and then take out my knight. But the funny thing is I could create a pawn cube with chess cube. That was a chess site. A pawn cube with knight b4, bishop g7, bishop takes c3, and then take with the cube. So I don't get mated. My king can actually evacuate out to d2. So I would envision that I could really benefit by not having moved my my d pawn at all here in that line. There are other lines as well. Optically it looks good for white, but I think maybe he's not obliged to play knight to b4. Plays bishop g7 first. And now we have d4 blocking his bishop. The pawn cube idea is still valid. Pawn takes f5, knight b4, d4. Then he has a hard time, actually. I don't see what he can do. Let's see it. Let's go for it. It looks risky. But, I mean, b7's hanging. That's a small point. More likely, I'm just going to play d4 and block him from bishop takes c3. And he has no other way to decoy my knight off of defending a2. He can't play knight d5 because my bishop will always just take it out. So he simply recaptures here. Now there's no obvious constructive move for white, but black's not threatening anything either. Black's not threatening anything deadly at the moment, but it is sort of hard to see what I can do to improve my position. Rook takes rook, doesn't seem right. d4 probably drops a pawn. Well, drops a pawn, or d4. Rook takes rook, rook takes rook. It doesn't drop a pawn because the b7 will hang in a lot of variations. But it seems like I should do something safer. Maybe bishop f3. Creepy crawly. So anyway, guys, if you send in games, I'm gonna start analyzing those after this game. We won't play too many blitz games. He just lost on time, but I don't think he's lost here. White is just a tiny bit better. So yeah, I mean, I expected something like, I don't know what I expected. Rook takes rook, and then takes on d4, but that would jeopardize his king position. Rook takes rook. I don't know. It is risky to give up the b7, so white stands a little bit better. Relatively correct game. He lost on time. He lost on time. Okay. At least we didn't do anything totally wrong. Tushar sent in a game already. I'm going to start with Nefyadov's game. Actually, I got more messages here I didn't read. Morwa is not sending in a game. Ace 1886. Ace 1886. Ace 886. Did you subscribe? So if Ace subscribed, all right, we'll put him in the list. I don't remember if Ace subscribed. I remember him playing the other day. Okay. Anyway, we've got a whole bunch of games to go over here. Pen is rolling off the table. Pen, go away. God damn it. It's like, excuse me. It was the, I rarely like curse on the stream, but it started to really aggravate me. It rolled off the table like 5 times. He is a sub. Okay. So, just Serbian Santa Claus is the black sheep. But he's a regular, so we'll treat him with respect. Hopefully we treat all you guys with respect. Ace is a sub. Awesome. So thanks again, guys. I do this to thank you guys for subscribing. All right, I'm going to go back to Nefyadov and do you guys in chronological order here. Nefyadov usually offers me a couple of games to go over. Not that many interesting ones this time, he says. There's a game with Lance 5500. This game raises the question when it is time to resign. I thought my opponent could have resigned much earlier. Camel culture. We haven't seen camel culture in a long time. What is that? The rest in peace. Alright. Rest in peace game. Well, that's... What's the opening here? Ponziani. That looks kind of fun. Let's check that out, Nefedov. And we'll see when Camel Culture should have resigned. So we'll look at this from Nefedov's perspective. He's classical, playing e4, e5. He's too good, you blocked him. Yeah, I'll reserve that for special players. So the Ponziani, which I don't know a lot about, there was an interesting line. D5. How did that go? D5, Queen A4. There was one line I looked at recently. So Nefedov did play D5, Queen A4. And this is what I recommended, wasn't it? Nefedov. I thought this was the line that I was recommending. This has to be it. I thought there was a good Almashi game in this line with Bishop D7. I think I mentioned it like once a long time ago. But I mean, you may have found it on your own somewhere, I'm sure. So Knight D4. It's funny though, if there was an Almashi game, it would really be in here. Unless his opponent was extremely low rated. Queen D1. Knight takes F3 check. But this seems wrong almost. Like, if White is playing the Ponziani and he's 0.3 better after 7 moves, then something has gone wrong. You know, I think that the Ponziani shouldn't offer White any advantage. So we should go back and try to find something better. I mean, this is not really a, you know, opening analysis stream. But for my own edification, I'd like to find something where White has no advantage. But is Knight F6? Yeah, Knight F6 is not what I was thinking. I mean, it had to be this line, but I don't know where the Almashi game went to. That's really weird. C3, D5, Queen A4. It could be a different variation, but I don't recall. F6 is standard. Bishop E5. Yeah, not this. Can we take on E4? Knight takes E5 here. This is just another line. I don't know, Nefedov. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to call. The Ponziani should really offer White very little or nothing. So I think we need to do some more homework here, both you and me. This looks forced. It seems like a fairly safe position for White, though. A lot hinges on the fact that one piece has been traded already. So Camel Culture here just like didn't know the theory and played D3, and he's basically, it almost looks like he's playing the birds, birds variation of the Lopez with colors reversed with that pawn on D5. It seems kind of funny, but it is an extra pawn. So presumably, like, he's not supposed to block in his bishop here. This is just a little bit passive. C6, active move. So it's a novelty officially. Nefedov playing a theoretical novelty here. All the other games went Bishop G4. It looks a little artificial, but Queen G3, it's on this pawn. You get your pawn back. I mean, I'm the last person that's like materialistic. Not a crazy tactical sacrificial maniac, but I'd like to say that I don't, you know, play for material, and I'm anti-materialistic. But this seems logical to get your pawn back. You know, I mean, I think this is better. So tried by 3 other guys, and Black has 2 out of 3. I mean, this is risky. What Nefedov did here. The deployment with Bishop G4 is kind of artificial, admittedly, but I think you need to get the pawn back. This is interesting. Okay, you're playing for the initiative. New idea. I would have also played Queen G3. It seems like such a normal idea to stay on the G7 pawn, but it's notable here that Stockfish is suggesting these weird moves like Queen F5, Queen H3, just being on the white square, I guess. Most people would have played Camel Culture's move, Queen G3. Who is the bits leader? Soltigo is the bits leader now. He's trying to stoke the fire. Queen G7, grabbing the pawn. Most people, you know, would naturally probably not grab this pawn, giving black a lot of play. Black's obviously pretty well, you know, what do we say? Pretty well mobilized here in order to castle queenside. So I mean, it's not obvious that you're going to castle queenside in general, but once takes on G7 happens, that looks like good play. Eventually, the black king will castle queenside here. So Camel Culture plays bishop e2, safe move, e4. Actually, Nefedov finds the best move here, according to the engine. I would have probably just played like castles or something. But that subjects you to like bishop h6. Come to think of it, we have knight e8. You know, it's like a Sicilian, and this is probably fine for black, actually. But we're down a pawn, so not that simple. Yeah, okay. So e4, bishop f4. This is radical though. 5-0 blitz. I think the Camel Culture might have even just overlooked his d3 pawn was hanging, or no. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he could have done this intentionally, but this was crazy. Oh no, this was the justification. Okay. So there was concrete justification. Bishop e4 though. We have bishop e4. Perhaps he missed that. That was what I thought was going to happen. And that alone might be good for black. You know, he can find some computer move. Probably Aronian and Grishuk would miss this. But it's understandable. You know, we can't judge people by computer moves. But I don't, you know, if you want me to not use the engine while we're analyzing, it's fine. But my philosophy about using the chess engine when we're analyzing is that I don't want to view it as like a crutch or something, but I also don't want to ignore the truth. You know, and the engine is really showing us the truth. It's an oracle. I want to try to use it without becoming too reliant on it. But okay, dude, I mean, this pawn is hanging at the end of the day. But what's happening if we trade queens, bishop takes d3, bishop takes g2, rook g1, bishop goes where? You know? And then rook takes g7. That's what maybe happened in the game, but apparently not. Yeah, bishop takes g2, rook g1, bishop h5. And I didn't see that move. This was tricky. Wait a second here. Bishop takes g2, rook g1, bishop f3. Okay, I'm missing why white can't play rook takes g7 here. Because that I don't understand. It's not even in the list. Wow, so you just play like rook g8 and you have this amazing play? Or what? For me, this is automatic. I mean, you're down a pawn, you're getting it back. You know, it's like, this is a no-brainer. For some reason, Camel Culture decided that, you know, he wanted to develop a piece for free, but he may have just simply missed the idea of bishop h5, bishop g6, the old trap the rook on g7. I saw that from the get-go, and that's why I didn't want to play knight d2, and I want to get my pawn while it's hot. You know, I think this would have. I thought maybe rook g8 here. But apparently that's a mistake because you have this move, which I overlooked. So then white's even better. Rook d8, and it's basically equal. So Camel Culture there, that was really a key moment. I don't know. It's basically equal, I guess. Maybe he intentionally did this. But f3 is a really weird move. He wants to put his king on f2. I guess that makes sense. Never mind. Looking at it from black's perspective, yeah, I guess we have to do it. The secondary plan is to play knight b3 and use the knight as a blocker, and then put your king on d2, which may have been stronger. This is what Stockfish wants to do. Soltiga wants there to at least be 3 donations this week. It's embarrassing if we don't at least get three donations. Thanks, Soltiga, for being the leader. It's been a bad week for bits. Knight b3 though, that's pretty cool. f3. That was a sneaky move. You gotta give Nefedov credit. This guy is not 16. What is his rating? 1647. Don't be misled. Pavel's BCF rating is like almost the equivalent of about 2,000 FIDE. And playing with him and talking with him, I can tell you that he's not. I don't know why his rating is so low, but he would be like 2,000. He should be like 2,000 rated on lichess. He's much stronger than 1647. This is a sneaky move. And then he tucks the king back on f8. It's a draw. Black has a structural advantage with that f pawn on f3. So let's see what happened. Rook e1. Okay, a6 is a move that, doesn't really occur to me. I think he's thinking like minority attack or something, but this is not really, not really, I don't know. Not really something. It's the best move according to Stockfish now. Whatever, Stockfish. I would think you don't want to move your pawns on the side where the opponent has the majority. But who knows? It's a dynamic position with pieces on the board. I wouldn't choose a6. I don't know what I would have done. I don't know. It's a really tough call. Maybe bishop g6, but that takes pressure off of f3. Okay. It's hard to find a constructive move. a4, I don't mind that move. Now Pavel ran out of ideas. He decides to liquidate and then play knight d5, which is an excellent move. Knight d5 heading for f4, centralizing the knight. It almost loses a piece to rook e5. Whoops. But nobody saw that idea. Yeah, so knight d5 wasn't so good here. I also don't like the fact that Nefedov puts his pawns on white squares. In an ending situation, that could even lose the game. The fact that those pawns are on white squares. You can't really go by Stockfish's like 5-second evaluation here. It's saying a6. It changed its mind. h6, a very subtle move. Getting a grip on the dark squares and preparing maybe g5. And then knight d7. So if you give it enough time, the computer is going to find much more deep moves. But a6 I don't like. And then a4 is strong. Rook takes rook. This is a miscalculation. Oh, he did find rook e5. No, that's my analysis variation. Oh, no, that is the game. Okay. Knight f6. Whew, man. Nefedov is worse now. This is Kramnik would take you to town here. You would be dead in Kramnik land. This is just enough for Kramnik to squeeze you, I think, right about this point. Kramnik against Nefedov. It's most likely I'm putting my money on Kramnik to take the point home with the white pieces here. After a5, fixing those pawns on the white squares, we're regretting a couple of moves, a6 and then knight d5. Nefedov should just be happy he won this game, not complain about resigning, in a timely fashion. I thought he like crushed white or something, but actually white has a big edge. The queenside majority plays an active role here, and black's queenside majority is gone, or whatever majority it is, it's not going anywhere. So rook d5, this may have been, heading for another Kramnik style idea. But this was logical. I like the way Camel Culture played it. He's headed for b6 now, which looks good. Suddenly the king comes out of nowhere. That's a wild card. You got to give him credit for playing actively with the king. Yeah, he's holding on. The white king is kind of snuggled back there on b2, but he can get in the game. So poor Camel Culture, what did he do? He made a one-move blunder. I still don't see it. I just saw like Stockfish freak out, but I don't see a move for black here. I mean, what's the big deal? Some kind of... Wow. Time situation, Camel Culture 2 minutes, Nefidov 47 seconds, and he finds the crusher. This impossible move, knight d7, trapping the exchange. It's so crazy. I was looking at everything else. I was looking for bishop c2, knight d5. I'm looking for every kind of other tactic, but I didn't realize he's just simply trapping the exchange on d7. So obviously, poor Camel Culture. He was slightly better after 30 moves and blunders in exchange. He didn't want to resign. There's still a chance with that pawn on b6, so I don't think there's an inappropriate... This is not inappropriate to not resign yet. Why would he play king a3? It's a very strange move. He must have been heavily depressed. Even this move is it's not that easy for black to make progress in that ending. Yeah. Well, he has 3 connected passed pawns almost. Now mate in 1. Should he resign after rook takes a2? Well, I don't know. I don't think it was an issue about resigning here. Aronian drew his game. Yeah, that's what we expected. All right, so back to the drawing board. He has 50%. It's good he beat Karyakin with black, but overall the tournament I think is really a disappointment for Aronian. I mean, he won no games with white. You know, that's the hallmark of his play. Like, basically playing brutal games, brutalizing people with the white pieces is where it's at with d4. And today, Grishuk was in his proverbial wheelhouse and survived. You know, and when you play black against Aronian, where he's playing d4, c4 in his so-called wheelhouse, that's where you're in really vast danger. That Aronian will just crush you in one of his masterpieces. But when he doesn't beat Grishuk today, when he does something stupid like play e4 against Kramnik, it's just not coming together. It doesn't look good. So it's basically anybody's tournament. I think Caruana is not the, you know, the strongest, necessarily the strongest player in the tournament. He's in first. Mamedyarov is lurking. Kramnik is lurking. Aronian is still not negative. So it's a 10 with 9 rounds left. Anything could happen. Okay, that's our candidates tournament wrap up. Let's take a look at another game though. We got free piece on c8, but he played queen d8 instead. What? I didn't see the game that closely, Tushar. I just saw bits and pieces, so I believe you. Just bits and pieces of the game today. So let's see. We've got. I just really like Aronian's opening today. I played the f3 Samish. I played the Samish with white, and the Benoni Samish structures. I'm a huge fan of those sort of positions, and so that was why I know a good position when I see one. I had a very similar game against Hungarian IM Farago Shandor like 2 months ago, where I was white. And it was the same thing. I played the Samish on the white side of the King's Indian. The guy didn't castle. I mean, it's one thing to like play the Benoni, and what you have to think about what Grishuk did here, okay? I was like losing my mind with Farago Shandor. It was the same thing. He didn't castle. I was like, it's one thing you play the Benoni, you play the King's Indian, you castle kingside, and then you play the Benoni, whatever. But do you know how normal it is to not castle on the black side of a Samish Benoni or King's Indian? I was like, I thought I was having like, you know, a flashback or something when I saw the position today, and Grishuk's king is like on e8. It is not normal with black to play the Benoni in the Samish type of setup and not castle. Like, people were talking about maybe Grishuk will castle queenside. I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like, I was totally winning against my guy too, but the position was the same. Got really complicated, and I didn't find exactly the best line. But I saw that position today. I mean, you just are not supposed to play the black side of the Benoni without castling. I'm sorry. That's not normal. Grishuk really pushed the envelope today, and he's lucky to not lose. All right, let's go back to the next game. So Jacob was next. All right, we've got this game from Rapid Chess here on lichess. Jacob versus S4. This is from our Sparkle Horse Arena on Tuesday, guys. We have an arena every Tuesday night. It was 5-0 this week. But I don't recommend playing the Benoni or King's Indian and not castling, okay? That's extremely strange what Grishuk did today. And it was exactly what Farago Shandor did. I thought Farago Shandor, okay, he's Farago Shandor. He's like a 2275 IM who plays like a maniac, like a lot. He does a lot of crazy things that are just unsound. But I don't expect Grishuk to do like not castling in the black side of the same-ish Benoni King's Indian. I mean, you normally want your king like on h8 or something like that. You know, when you start playing crazy stuff like f5 and f4 and h5 and whatever, you know, you move every pawn in front of your king. He's just chilling out there with his king on e8. Like, that's no wonder he had a lost position. I mean, it's like people were talking about it in the chat like, well, I know the computer says that black is winning, or white is winning, but I honestly, I don't know. You know, it looks like Grishuk's pretty. I'm like, dude, it's a position. His king is on e8 in this position. White's structure is better. His development's better. His control of the center is better. You don't have to be like a brain surgeon to see that white is like massively better. But okay, you know, Aronian got lost in the complications probably. Okay, anyway, on to other things. We've got d4, g6, e4, bishop g7, knight c3, the sharpest move against the Pearts modern. d6, whoops, d6, and now Jacob played g3, which I really like against the Pearts. With the knight already on f6, it feels like black's options are more limited. It's funny that I never really thought about playing this for white against the modern with white. It seems like black has more options in this position. He doesn't have to play knight f6. So look at the database here. It's very stark, the difference. If you look at knight f6, 31% wins for black, and knight c6, 37% wins for black. That's kind of interesting little statistic. But I think that black has a lot of options. This is one of them. A risky option, but logical. And now a4. It's going to be a hippopotamus. It looks like Tushar is playing black. Kramnik's game has been drawn. I don't understand either, to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know at anything. You know, of course it's drawn. It's been drawn. It's obviously drawn. I was thinking the same thing an hour ago. Like, why are these guys not just agreeing to a draw? Maybe there's some bad blood between Kramnik and So. I have no idea. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, I make too many draws, and I agree to draws too easily, so maybe I need to try to win totally drawn positions more often, but I agree. It seems strange to go a6 and then knight f6, but why not? I mean, it seems more consistent to play something like b6, bishop b7, and keep your options open here. Well, it's a standard Pearts now. There's a very old like Karpov game where Karpov beat Timan in 1979 in Montreal, if I remember correctly. I was in elementary school, but I didn't know the game at the time. I just know it from later, because I'll get jokes about that. But Timan did something like very stupid, like c6, queen c7. I mean, it's just not chess. So the modern Pearts players are playing this fianchetto type of stuff with like b6 and bishop b7. But now, because of the way he played it, look, you see what I'm saying? Like, if he had played b6 right now, black could play a legit sort of double fianchetto, hippo type of thing. Excuse me, bishop g2, bishop g2, bishop b7. And then, you know, there's no e5 tricks because this guy's hanging all the time. That seems like, you know, the coolest way to play with black. You don't have to play a hippo. I mean, you might be able to play the knight to f6, where it has more, you know, more active play. The hippo's fine and good, but you don't have to play hippo style with knight on e7. I mean, it's more active to develop the knight in a normal Peertz fashion. But I think that having said a6, it seems to me that it would be logical for black to play b6 before it's too late, and he goes knight f6. So why did he play a6? You know, h3, fine. I think that maybe I prefer knight e2 here, developing a piece to h3, which is more or less not as relevant. Now this is it, knight c6, okay, and e5. Artaxes played this with black, but he's known to play some pretty sketchy stuff. This actually looks okay for black. So I think we're going to transpose back into a world of theory with bishop e3 here. There is an option to play d5. That's what Jacob did, but I mean the standard plan for these setups is to play like bishop e3, keep the tension, and maybe castles and play like f4. You see, we did transpose back into a world of theory. Now there's like 30, 40, 50, 55 games after bishop e3. Not to say there's anything necessarily wrong with d5. I would prefer black if he hadn't played a6 at this point. I would prefer not to have played that now, because black has a potential weakness on b6. If he wants to break white's center with like c6, it seems like the b6 square might be a kind of weak point. You know, we would rather not to have bothered with having played a6 now. So that's slightly in white's favor. Roger Noakes. I know, holy woly. Okay, c6, see, that's what I'm talking about. a6 isn't necessary here. Now this move I don't really understand. You're just trying to induce black to weaken his kingside with h6. I think this could be bad, because you're actually, you know, not coming back to e3 because you're not going to get hit by this knight coming to f5. So on h6 you actually have to play bishop d2. There are a lot of games like in the King's Indian where you induce black to play h6 and hope that he'll lose time because you can hit it again with like queen c1 or queen d2. But here I think bishop e3, my problem is that there's pawn takes pawn. Now, I don't know which way you planned on recapturing. But I don't really like this, you know, black getting to play like knight f5. And he seems fairly active. So, but Jacob here played this and traded. Objectively, white's position isn't that bad, but you just traded a dark-scored bishop for basically nothing, and now you have a position where the vast majority, well, anyway, this 5-3 majority of pawns are on white squares, and so I think you don't have particularly good good control of dark squares, and therefore, although it's not pretty right now, black is really happy to have the dark-scored bishop here. Maybe it comes back. The long diagonal opens up later on. Maybe black plays like h5, bishop h6, and it's lurking on that diagonal. And if nothing else, it's just a really good defender. So I don't think that this is good for white objectively, you know, in a vacuum, to trade bishop takes f6. It would have been better to pull it back to d2, and better yet, not to play bishop g5 at all. But what is the plan? I don't know. Queen d2, bishop g7. Rook d1, and then Houston, we have a problem there, but not really, right? Black can play c5. It's basically forced. He wanted to play pawn takes pawn probably, but now after knight takes d5, I mean this looks a little like a Najdorf or something. Maybe even this is okay for black. He can just trade the d pawn for another pawn. Queen b6. This is actually, yeah, very Najdorf-like. In fact, it looks exactly like it came out of a Fianchetto Najdorf. Probably even this is okay for black. What happened? The weird problem with the webcam stopped. That's good. That's good. Probably because you changed the settings. So c5, man, this will be an epic game now. Very close position. It's looking like a really long game, so I'm not gonna take forever on every move, but it looks like a kind of good King's Indian for black, more or less. He's got the dark square bishop. It's a bad piece, but it's also a good piece. White has to be super careful. You know, he can't do anything. He can't do f4 without risking that bishop becoming really powerful. So it's like you're kind of handcuffed. b4 logical, but now the dark squares become a little bit weak. See that? And then take with the queen and the dark squares. That's the key to the position. That white traded their dark squared bishop, and now black is going to try to exploit the dark squares. White's going to have to play really actively to kind of counter that. Yeah, s4 is an attacking player, and he doesn't want to trade queens. So here he like voluntarily made a bad move to avoid trading queens. He should have just taken the endgame. This endgame is fine for black. There's pressure on b7, but it's solidly guarded. We can guard d6. h5, getting the bishop outside the pawn chain, targeting e3, something like that. I wonder, yeah, there's no time for b6 probably. No, b6, rook takes b6. Yeah, this is basically another move. Queen here, he could go. If he wanted to avoid the trade of queens, this would have been more logical. I mean, the queen looks kind of exposed on c4. So I guess this is an alternative. But I really don't like trading that dark squared bishop the way that white did in this game. Now white gets a huge square for his knight on e4. For all of black's dynamism, this is turning into a pawn. How quickly this position could just like totally turn around. We have a pawn on g7. It's a good pawn, it's a good defender. It's a hell of a pawn, but it's still a pawn. The way it went down, it looks like, despite his bad structure and black having the bishop pair, now white is better. Yep, but the c-file. Okay, I don't know if you're thinking about like an exchange sacrifice here, but it seems more logical to me that you should go to the open file. That's more relevant. Okay, it's a fast game. It's 7+2, so we can't expect perfection. This weakens the dark squares worse. I think that g4 seems kind of suspicious, but he can't go to e7 because d6 is just hanging. So it's going to have to be like h4, g6, f4. The old bishop d8, my favorite maneuver in the King's Indian. Looks like it's appropriate here. a5 is kind of a risky move for white in the fact that that pawn could itself fall off in the event of some kind of bishop d8, but it's not likely that's going to happen. There's too much pressure on d6. Yeah, so I mean, still I guess I would play this, but black is basically like paralyzed. Paralyzed completely. This knight is so strong. I don't like the other knights so much on g3. Where are we going with that, by the way? Where's the h5 knight going? Finally. He realized his mistake putting the rook on b1 and going back to the open file. It's very important to be able to do that, you know, to say yourself, to admit you made a mistake and then to reposition yourself. This is problem. I was like, what? There is no way forward. Yeah, this is frustrating. I probably would have I would have made the same sort of mistake in the game. You've got black tied up, but now there's no way forward directly. Not easy to win. If we could only trade like the white squared bishops off the board somehow. So this is a big mistake. Black is less cramped. The king comes to c7. Suddenly he's better. This game is epically long. Saul is a tough player. This player playing black here. Another one of our subscribers. I don't think white wants to trade pieces at all there. You know, that was the problem with rook takes d7 right off the bat. You have control of the open file, so you just have to like move back and like not trade pieces here and try another front. I think that's the bottom line. The black king isn't really safe. We could play rook e1 and maybe create like a secondary threat. There's also break with h4. We could open another file, possibly with bishop f3 defending g4, then h4. I think the secondary weakness would be, we actually have two weaknesses we're working on, but like it looks like white actually needs a third target to make progress here in the game. So bishop g7, king d2, bishop e5, f3, and now our rook is trapped. That is a problem. So we have d4. I'm trying to figure out d4. It didn't happen. So we had to play d4. I was just calculating this. Bishop takes d4, bishop takes b5. This was forced, and Jacob didn't see it. But his position was compromised, and now he has to find this only move. But this did not happen. This is computer analysis. Instead he played bishop d1, and I guess black missed the winning move here. Pretty obvious one. What black missed was rook takes d6, I guess. Rook takes e4. I don't know. It's pretty obvious, though, if you have a minute to calculate. Black had like 2 minutes here. You've got to be looking to trap that rook on b6 here. I mean, it's obviously the point. So white was lucky. He's actually winning again or better and wins a pawn. So that was fortunate. And now h6 is just hanging. White's up a pawn. Better king position. The only problem is that a lot of the pawns are on the wrong color, theoretically. But still white is winning. I was only concerned about like this eating these pawns. Maybe rook e8, rook d3, but white just goes rook e6 there, you know, and that should be winning, right? Rook e8. I was looking at rook e6. That's not so simple because the king comes in. That might not actually be so easy. Apparently we always have bishop c4 though, so you just rip this pawn, rook e3. We also have a very powerful pawn here. Not so easy though. You know, that might have been a chance. Rook takes d6, bishop c4 now. This is basically a point where it's money in the bank at this point. For me, at least, everything is secured now. We got this crushing passed pawn, good king position. Black doesn't have counterplay. I don't know how he ended up losing. Okay, enough messing around with the rook, man. Centralize your king. You know, just get the king in the game. Nothing else really matters here. I mean, I think, okay, rook g7 is actually... It's probably not a bad move. But I mean, I like being on the h6 pawn. You know, I think the first priority should be to improve the new piece, the king to d4. There you go. There's a problem. Oh no. I missed it too. Man. I missed it too. Wow, that is really annoying. So now white's winning by a very small margin. d6, bishop takes f3. I can understand how this game was lost. This was a blunder. So you have to just improve everything with the pieces. King d4, bring the king up. Yeah. So white had to find a kind of better order of moves. The problem is if he plays this, then black has bishop c6. You know, so it wasn't so easy. Like if you go up here, you get bishop d1. If you go d6, you get bishop c6. And meanwhile, your bishop is hemmed in by all of its own pawns. So it really did take a lot of good technique to win. I understand this blunder, and I can understand how this happened in a fast game. And surprisingly, black has a lot of counterplay. Now it's a draw, it looks like. Probably h4 here would be considered instead of rook there. I like h4, just admitting that it's like a draw at this point. Yeah, now he starts to fall apart. Still maybe it's a draw. Black has two connected passed pawns, which is an issue. But what's up with the king move? Why not king c5? No king. There's no king. We need the king. Ooh, this is complicated and probably really tricky. And again, no king. Where's your king? Bring the king in. That's the only real takeaway from this. Like, I think that white need to be a little more active with the king. Is this a draw? Okay, so this is a draw. You can't take the pawn. But not so easy draw. Man, you played rook b6. That's natural. Natural, and everything lost anyway. Alright, man, tough game. I don't know. I think it's probably lost here. Yeah, this is natural. There's some draws here. But white is lost. Yeah. Okay, guys, let's move on. Let's play a game. I got no more challenges. Never mind. Let's go back to the next game. Thanks for subscribing and watching. Yeah, I mean, king position is very critical there, but I understand the trick you fell for. You know, I might have easily blundered that myself, not seeing bishop d1. That's what turned the game in his favor. I think that's kind of a reasonable blunder. No blunders are reasonable, but that blunder, I can see where that's coming from. He's a really tricky guy. Alright, next game is rabbit chess. Rabbit chess got systematically crushed by a 2400 player. Yeah, be careful with this Kazan master guy. It sounds strong. The opening of the day is the Ponziani. No challenges today, please, only analysis. Yeah, we're mostly doing analysis. I want to get on all the games. And I spent quite a bit of time on the games. Tushar is white. He plays the Ponziani. That I had not seen before. I didn't remember the last time we saw a Ponziani. Now we've got two today. Kazan is animal. Let's see. 1700 rapid. He only plays rapid in classical. Probably a middle-aged dude who doesn't believe in blitz chess, huh? Nesmadinov, son of Nesmadinov, from the Kazan. So, unlike Mr. Nefedov, we have now knight f6. That's good. We got something different. There was a guy in Hungary, the only book I've ever seen written on the Ponziani. This guy I knew, Tomchani Peter, who wrote a book on the Ponziani, but that's like 20 years old now. So we need an updated opening book on the Ponziani. Okay, yeah, I don't know really too much about this. Yeah, so this move feels active. It's kind of like playing the Falkbeer or something. But it's not really considered right by theory, I guess. One of the things that seems clear to me is that, you know, we can find concretely best moves in the opening, and we should try to do that. Because in the middle game, as you'll see in the candidates tournament, not even 2700 grandmasters have a clue what's going on. So, you know, the little that we can really know for sure is in the middle game, or sorry, the opening and the end game. And the middle game, it's always going to be a gray area. But here, you know, I think that black should investigate, you know, clearly the best moves. Both of these are commonly known. Takes and e5. This is a key variation, and then knight takes e4, d5, which is, this was analyzed very, very heavily in Tom Shawnee's book. And bishop c5 is actually like a critical line. Shockingly, white has a huge score in these top games. But, you know, it's like kind of who plays the Ponziani and who faces the Ponziani. It's funny, though, that all these top games were wins for white, whereas, like, the engine thinks it's equal. And the overall result is equal. 46 for white, 46 for black. Yet, Nepomniachtchi won, Hector won, Zemtsev won, and Simachek won. That's something to analyze. But anyway, so we got d5. What the heck is d5? That's got to be a mistake. Playable, but not as good as the other lines. So the vast majority of players play bishop b5 here. Does that transpose? It seems like it would almost transpose to something else, wouldn't it? Yeah. It doesn't transpose. Can we get there? We play e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop e5, knight f6. How would we get there? c3. That's not really a move. But d4 is a move. It's a sort of rare move. So this is our only transposition, d4 against the Berlin defense, and black just... So that's where you can draw the parallel, right? If you take an analogous position or analogous move order, we can show how stupid this variation really is for black. Let's say, I mean, maybe it's not that bad, but let's say this was the move order. Like, who in their right mind would play d5 in this position? You know what I mean? So that's my argument. It looks really stupid now, whereas in the other position it doesn't seem so bad, but it's basically the same position, and now we have to play c3. I guess my argument is lame. But anyway, okay. There's no way to justify this move order. Never mind. I tried to prove a point, but it failed. It was a fail. Oh well. Anyways, I still don't like d5. It just seems a little over the top. Pawn takes d5. So you have to take here. Uneski Perez against Quesada. Okay, this looks like... Why is there only one game in this position? So d5, knight takes e5. There's only one game here as well. It's kind of like a Petrov. c3 seems like a lame move, doesn't it? So I guess statistics are right. Like, you really have to play bishop b5. Nothing else seems very active. Just nothing else seems very active here. This is the only developing move that makes sense. We've got to choose this move, I guess. So, I mean, secondary choice, knight takes e5, but it's kind of boring. We also looked at this, right? D takes e5. This is okay. But actually, you played what? So this move, it feels like a c3 Sicilian. But it's not a Sicilian, that's the problem. This is probably the worst choice. Queen takes d5. He's mobilizing his pieces. And, you know, unlike the Sicilian, black's playing real centrally, you know, so we don't have that developmental advantage like against the Sicilian. It also could be like a Nimzovich defense where white played an ultra slow... Yeah, that's what it is, isn't it? An ultra slow Nimzovich, dude. So white has no advantage at all here. And black was smart. You know, he doesn't take the pawn back with an equal position, which is kind of like white's hoping for. He goes for this. Endgame town with a small advantage. The white king is not really absolutely safe. Knight g4 is forced. Double attack. I mean, bishop e3 is not forced, right? But all other moves look really bad. Yeah. This move is scary, dude. That's stockfish #1 move, you know. Queenside castle seems okay. He could also take on e3. Developing a piece. Yeah, I would be a little paranoid like my opponent was a computer or something at this point. He's played awfully incisively. I mean, I'm not going to make an accusation against Kazan Master, but the fact that he only doesn't play blitz at all, you know, this game looks very, very strong. Okay, b5 though. That makes him human, I guess. We see a concrete mistake from the human player here with b5. That's the first move he's made that didn't seem logical. So he was really like totally on target and then played b5. He could have just kept mowing you down with like brutal moves. Rook takes rook here. King e1. b5 now maybe. But he played b5 first. Knight a5, and white has some counterplay. That was his only inaccuracy. Rook d8 is another human move. But you achieved something very important here. Tushar trades off black's bishop pair. Suddenly, for the first time since the last 12 moves, white can almost dream of surviving this game. I'm really surprised that black didn't play rook d2 here, because that move looks paralytic. He's just like cutting you off. Oh, you have rook f2. Oh no, rook d2, rook f2. Yeah, that's probably gonna hold on, isn't it? That's why he didn't play rook d2. It's just not good enough. So instead he plays king d7, which is a really strong move. We're in endgame. Wait, what is this? This is actually what happened? Oh, this did happen. Oh my god. I just thought it was a analysis variation. This actually happened in the game. So bishop e3, okay, I thought he went king d7 here. No, it was, of course, rook d2, rook f2. Yeah, this is best play. King f2, king takes, king d7. And this should be okay for white, but your knight is really seriously off sides here. The bishop is a piece that can work both sides, so you literally have to play like perfectly with white here. King f3 is a good looking move, but there's a problem. There's just that problem. You just overlooked c1. We can't allow that. We just can't allow it. So you have to take on e6 and walk some tightrope of perfect moves not to lose the game, which is really, really tough. Most grandmasters probably wouldn't hold this with white. Bishop takes e6, king takes e6. If f takes e6, you could take the knight back to b3 and stop bishop c1 and maybe hold on. It's very unpleasant for white with that pawn on e5. If the pawn wasn't on e5, I think we'd have, you know, the pawn on e4. It's a probably not that difficult to hold position, but with the pawn on e5, you're just barely hanging on with tactical threats like bishop f4, knight c5 check, king e7, knight d3, bishop takes h2. You just happen to have g3 trapping his bishop on h2. You know, it's very convenient. That's lucky that that works. But by a hair, like white is drawing this. Yeah, no, don't feel bad about losing this, but now it's like lost. You're just losing a pawn, bishop against knight, straight up in the endgame like this. He's even got a good king position, but let's not resign yet. That was a bit weird. I was expecting king d5 here. What's the difference, really? King d5 and king d6. Wouldn't you want the king on a more aggressive square here? I would play king d5 definitely, to have the king more centralized. What makes him play king d6 here? That's what I don't understand, you know? I mean, most strong players would automatically play king d5. It's almost like he could see the future, you know? Like there's a variation, king d5, knight takes a7, c6, c4 check. That's suspicious to me, you know? That he can see that in advance in a 5-5 game, that after king d5, knight takes a7, you have the saving move c4 check after c6. So if there were honestly like one suspicious move for me in this game, I think this would be the most suspicious, actually, because like there seems to be no reason not to put the king on the most active square here. He has to see through that. Knight takes a7 and c4 check, you know, which is pretty hard to do. In a long game, it would be impossible to say, but in a fast game, I think it's kind of suspicious. King d6, best move. So that in the event of knight takes a7, your knight is now like very, very close to getting trapped after c6. Yeah, that's kind of weird, man. I mean, I think that's kind of suspicious. Okay, I wouldn't convict him on one game, but he played awfully perfect. And the other thing that's weird about the game, okay, the guy doesn't play blitz at all, which is kind of strange. All right, man. So I don't know. I can't say it's a computer, but it could be. So let's move on to a blitz challenge game. One last blitz. This is the last one for today. I'm going to play Nefedov. Then we'll cut off the challenges. We'll go back to the game analysis. I've still got Acerbate, Clash Kid, and then Ace, and maybe Serbian Santa Claus if he was a good boy this year. Nefedov, if you're not here, I'm going to replace you with a game analysis. Maybe he's on the train. Alright, we'll give him like 30 seconds. King d6 was engines. Yeah, it looks like to me. If this guy is really a master, which he's supposed to be, like me, you know, he wants to centralize his king. If it was a long game, you would be able to calculate that, but it's sort of suspicious. King d6 is an extremely accurate move. If there's enough of those moves, the game becomes a question. So Nefedov now. Okay, let's play something different. Rapid casual. Yeah, I'm not going to analyze the guy's games. It's not my job. I don't get paid to catch people for cheating on lichess, unfortunately. I wish I did, though. I wouldn't mind that job. Briefly worked for another chess site doing a similar thing. But that sounds like fun, actually. People always think I play the Lasker Pelican for some reason. Multiple peoples. This was actually my first Sicilian defense, but I stopped very early on. Andras Shadoryan's book on the subject was too much for me. He had like a decimal system for coding the chapters when I was like 1100, well 1200, and I was just like, you know what? This is too complex for me. I'm not going to learn the Sveshnikov. So I decided to play the Scheveningen instead. I like the layout of Kasparov Nikitin's book in the Scheveningen or Scheveningen better than Dorian's Sveshnikov. That led to my decision to play the Scheveningen instead of the Sveshnikov. Totally arbitrary reasons why things happen. Simon Williams. He's getting paid. Oh my god. He's computer catcher. He wouldn't be my first choice. He's a nice bloke, but I doubt he's like a specialist on checking computer cheaters. Chess.com is very serious about catching computer cheaters. That's the place to go. You feel safe if Simon's on the job. Little bit of sarcasm there. Okay, knight to d5. What are we doing here? I play the Sveshnikov so rarely, and it's been so long. But Nefedov was alerted to the fact that I might play the Sveshnikov against him. Now I've tricked him into like revealing his secret preparation, in the future. Chess.com is like where you go if you just want to be sure that you play a computer. That's where I go. If I feel like playing a computer, I'm like, man, today I feel like playing someone that's using a computer. I think I'll go to chess.com. I really want to get dragged around by a 1600 using a computer. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to go play on chess.com. Anyways, bishop e7 is book. What are we thinking here? I think I still remember something. Nefedov, what are you doing? This should be like instantaneous. I play this with white very rarely against Dejan Antic, the Serbian Grandmaster, my last Sveshnikov. God, it was like 10 years ago or something. The last time I played the white side of a Sveshnikov was this position. And I think it was like c3, probably c3 rook b8, I don't remember. Today I really feel like getting tortured by a computer. Can you suggest a chess site to go to? Extra sarcastic today. It's fun anyway. Well, I mean, okay, to be fair, like, they have a lot of players. It's hard to catch all those sharks. But who cares about being fair? lichess has 27,000 players or something on the site, and they do a hell of a better job. Alright, Nefedov's using exorbitant amounts of time here for the first, 10 moves of the Sveshnikov. Yeah, I'm not gonna accuse anybody like based on one game. In order to accuse Kazan, the last opponent from Tushar's game, I need to see more evidence. I mean, I think that lichess does jump the gun in a lot of cases. Like they do kind of like ban people awfully quickly. But okay, at least they're taking some steps. Maybe they're exaggerating in some cases. Like rook b8 is always a useful move to play for b4, but I think another line is c4, right? I mean, someone told me recently that they thought this was, I don't remember who I was talking to. Someone, some cognoscenti of chess openings said that they thought that c4 was the refutation of the Sveshnikov, but somehow I don't think it's so easy. So now bishop g5, h4 type of stuff. We don't have h4 there for white. Because I played rook b8, I can play bishop g5, right? I never actually played this position for black. I never played rook b8. That's a fairly modern move, I think, as Antic played against me. But it stops h4, because otherwise he would have a fork on c7. There's no h4, bishop takes h4, rook takes h4, and like, you know, knight c7 check or something like that. Why people even cheat? Yeah, it's sort of like, why do people gun dozens of people down for, you know, random reasons? Not to compare the seriousness of the two things, but there's a lot of things people do. I think the main thing, I mean, is ego, and the second thing is possibly people do it because they think it's like a kind of useful training tool, you know, and they might even be right about that. It's immoral, but it may be a useful training tool. So now the key moment here, yes, I believe a4 is probably a move. What happens if I take on a4? Gosh, I have no idea. I don't know the theory, it's a kind of limitation. Now we can play h4. It looks like Kasparov against Kramnik or something. Did Vlad used to play the Sveshnikov? Vlad, there was a game, yeah, there it is. There was a game against somebody Kasparov had. Vlad played the classical. Who played the Sveshnikov against Kasparov? Topalov, probably. It must have been like Topalov or... Yeah, it was Topalov. I'm saying Kramnik. I don't know why. This is probably still book. G4, bishop f4. This is like, I know this opening in another life or something. I never played the Sveshnikov, but I understand the ideas, you know, from studying Adorian when I was like 1200. Uh-huh. So Clash Kid, that's why you got silenced. Yeah, dude. Tushar, you should never do that. Even as an experiment. I'm gonna just pretend I didn't hear about that. A takes b5, A takes b5, and then bishop d3. Years ago, I mean, okay, the thing is, like, Kasparov did this h4 thing, I remember, in the game against Topalov, where he hadn't played a4. And there was this insane game where Gary won, like, castling queenside somehow. Don't ask me how that happens with the bishop on h6, but it did. Obviously, White's not castling queenside here. I'm just not expert enough in this position. I mean, it's actually very sort of strategic. Leko played the Sveshnikov a lot. A lot of people who don't really know the old Leko, you know, when he was young, just associate him with a lot of draws. But the guy almost became world champion. He was also playing a lot more dynamically when he was younger. And Leko did work with Adorian, as far as I know, at some point. Have you seen a street player from New York who beat Magnus? What kind of time control are we talking about? It sounds like something someone made up for a YouTube video. It sounds like a totally, honestly, I haven't seen this or heard about this, but it sounds like something that's like staged, to be honest. I wouldn't trust everything I see on YouTube. Magnus losing to a park hustler sounds a little hard to believe. Okay, it could happen in a random game or something, but it sounds more likely to be something staged. Not to be like the naysayer of everything, but it sounds like a conspiracy theory. You can YouTube it, of course. It's on Wikipedia. Um, yeah, no, it sounds like something somebody did for their high school or college like video project. So anyway, guys, after this we're going to continue with the game analysis. We've got about another hour left in the stream. I want to thank everyone for subscribing to the stream. I hope you enjoy it. The sarcastic humor is the #1 reason why people subscribe here for my great sarcastic presentation. Now knight b4. Wow. Time for calculation. Knight takes d5, knight c6. Knight takes d5, knight c6, queen b6. Knight takes b8, and then we just walk away with knight c7. And we digest the knight on b8. Most likely that's okay. That's not a problem. I'm concerned about something else here. Okay, I'm gonna think about bishop b7 as well, actually. Bishop b7 sort of writing my b pawn off almost, but not really. This move actually seems okay to some extent. But I mean, it may be simpler to take on d5. He can also take back with the pawn. So Nefedov is not done yet, harassing me. Alright, whatever. I gotta choose something before it's too late. Hopefully he'll lose on time. Maybe we can just keep the tension. That's always good. Knight b4 was a strong move. Bishop b7 was an ultra tense move. Now queen there. I was expecting like rook a7. Now we got to try to get some counterplay here. You know how these positions work. It's always all about like dynamism. There's no half measures. So f5, screaming to be played. I have no idea if this is sound, but it feels like a Sveshnikov move. We've got to break through no matter what. Here I was joking that Sveshnikov was like a forced draw recently. Rook a8, sacking the queen. The problem is I'm sacking it with check in that line. But actually I have queen c7 there. Might be simpler to play queen c7 right away. Rook a8, knight d5 gets really complicated. I have knight d5, queen f7. Right. So we're very dynamic here. Oh no. We have the forced mate. It's not quite forced mate, but it still looks really strong. Oh, it is forced mate. Oh goodness. That is forced mate. I'm an old hand in the Sveshnikov. They say I play the Sveshnikov, but I don't really play the Sveshnikov. They all think I do. All right. Let's go back to game analysis. Where do we leave book there, by the way? Is this not book? Dominguez versus Grishik. Well, this is all just standard. Okay. Where are we here? So a4 and then castles. This is rare, actually. B takes a4, everybody plays. That was my first thought. So apparently, this has never been played h4. You're supposed to just take on b5 and be a little bit better. There's just a couple games, nobody notable. Right, 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 right. F5, exclam. Rook a7, rook a8, best move. and we're rolling. And then he hung mate. It's beautiful. All right, next next deal is the Acerbate game. Acerbate. Thank you for subscribing, guys. Soltigo's just here to spread conspiracy chess theories. Magnus lost to Emery Tate. Back from the grave. No, okay, e4. Acerbate is white. It's e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. The Ponziani, no. Bishop c4. Acerbate shared another game with me where he was black, where he played f5. But in this game, he's white. And he played knight f6, d3. This is really the professional move, okay? Now, bishop c5. And standard Gioco Pianissimo here. So, I guess the most flexible is c3. You keep your options open. And you play like bishop b3. It's very similar to bishop's opening. There are transpositions. You can also castle. Bishop g5 looks like an extremely rare move, similar to like the canal variation. This has actually been played by Tomaszewski. So, I guess you could take on f6. It's probably not that bad for black. But bishop h4 looks like the move. Yeah, so keeping the tension is a little more critical. This is a very, very rare line, though. It doesn't feel right for white. I was actually going over this with someone recently. One of my other students had this position, and I think I was surprised to see that this was commonly played. Aronian here played bishop e7 against Tomaszewski. It seems kind of weird to play bishop c5 then go back to e7, but it's a really good exchange if we can exchange our bad bishop for your good bishop. So instead, Acerbate just traded on f6. This is similar to the so-called canal variation after knight c3. The Justice Williams guy, yeah, he's like a really strong kid. He was, I don't know. It's a name I recognize. I never actually met him, so I don't think he's just like some hustler from the street. If that's who we're talking about. But anyways, I've played in like Washington Square Park. I know that some of those guys are pretty good, but there's, you know, IM strength blitz players you might run into occasionally. Castles d6, knight c3, bishop g4, knight d5, queen d8, and at the end of the day, I think that bishop g4 might even be like not the greatest move. In fact, let's see here. So this is better than the game move. There was some game here by a 2300 where they played h3, but I'm not sure that we really want to do that. You know, it weakens our king side. I like Acerbate's move better, the c3. Question remains about how to break the pin, though. This is not a joke. You might consider, with white here, the fact that black could potentially be threatening knight a5 to trap your bishop. So Acerbate played b4. You know, come to think of this. Well, there's nothing he could do, but going back in time here, this sort of move, it has problems tactically. The knight d5, queen d8, b4, knight takes c4, and this isn't so good for black, I guess. You have to lose time. I mentioned this in a previous stream, something similar. So that's not really viable. I don't like bishop g4 though. I think he should just go home with queen d8. Or, well, here apparently someone played knight e7. That might not be a bad move. But I don't want to trade the bishop off. So knight d5, good game, Acerbate, c3. And then b4, it's probably not a bad move. I don't mind b4. Weakening your queen side, like long term, is possibly a drawback, but we shall see. What I'm most concerned about for white here is how are we going to break the pin? of this thing here. And my suggestion was going to be that you could just consider playing king h1. I don't know if this is really a good move, but the idea would be that we could take back with the g pawn on f3, and not necessarily unprovoked, but in some situations later on, the idea of playing like h3 and g4 might take on a lot more meaning. Plus, we get off the diagonal with bishop on c5. Apparently, like, it's not good because of knight a5, and that may well be the case. So let's play b4. And what about here playing king h1? At this point, to make a prophylactic move here, I mean, there are many points. You could later on play f4. Anyways, a4, a5. Grab the bishop. There was another guy last week who submitted a game. I think it was Saul, actually, who we had earlier. Actually, Jacob showed his game against Saul. Saul had a game where he was black, and I thought he should have moved his bishop away from b6. He didn't mind this exchange. This exchange is not actually that damaging to black. So I'm not certain that this is even necessarily the right move. It's not a bad move. Now here you may simply be losing a pawn. This is just dropping the b4 pawn, and I think that's probably not good. So there's just no choice really but to play b5 and then go on about your business. b5 first, and then decide what you're going to do. But having dropped this pawn after bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, pawn takes b4, I mean, it's almost tempting for black to put his knight on d4 here. Such a powerful square. Honestly, after c takes b4, look at the engine. It was suggesting knight d4 as a serious alternative to knight takes pawn, because knight takes pawn, it's greedy, but it wastes a lot of time. And these pawns are weak anyway, so what is being up a pawn really here going to matter? That's the question. So I'm not sure. Anyway, black chickened out, kept the pin. But you can play g4. You can definitely play it. Ooh, this knight a7 is a strange decision by black. Who in their right mind wants to put their knight on a7? What is it going to do? It's going to go to c8 and e7. You can just go to e7 right away. This is a crazy move by black. Totally insane. And then Asterbate gets kind of carried away with g5. I don't think this is like a position where you're really that well developed to begin an attack. Maybe you could prepare an attack with something like king h2, rook g1, and start mobilizing more forces. And when all your pieces are ready, like Botvinnik, then you start an attack. But it seems like you're starting an attack here in a position where you're not sufficiently developed. And so he had bishop h5 going back again. You should be very happy here with white. His knight is bad. You have a strong center. You can start to plan stuff like maybe king h1, rook g1, queen d2. He misses his chance to re-pin you with this move. And so g5, h takes g5, king here. I thought, okay, it's better to play queen d2. I guess you didn't see this for some reason, but you can get your pawn back. Just straight up get it back with knight takes g5, I guess. And it's a game, but black is in trouble because of the bad knight on a7 in this position. King h2, not a bad try though. I was preferring that move though, Acerbate. Like, this should have been played long before you played g5. This should have been like preparation for this plan. Yeah. King h7, rook g1. Now it worked out. He's going to play f6. And you have a very strong attack, apparently. Wow. Sort of materialized. It almost looks like it materialized out of nowhere, but Larry Christensen calls it the student body attack, like when all the pieces suddenly swarm. It's logical. Looks really logical. And the black king is just trapped. So it's his fault for not realizing, that like playing f6 and hanging on to the g5 pawn is not a good plan. He missed his only really good defense here with bishop h5. This move was a big mistake. And bang, now white has a crushing attack. I thought this was a good practical try in a way, but it's funny because his king can't even go anywhere. He can't even discover on your king at all, Rook h8 comes to mind, but it's not like he can even play king g6. If he could play king g6, maybe that would make some sense. You can play king g3, and it's probably a good square, actually, for white. And you're going to actually checkmate him along the h-file yourself. I think I would want to play king g3, but I just realized he has back here to h5, which could be a problem. No, this move is actually a big issue because of queen g4 check. That's not so easy. Bishop h5. Apparently white has a miracle tactic here, knight takes e5, but that was not something I had planned in advance. It's pure coincidence this works. Bishop h5, knight takes e5. That's very lucky that white is winning there. So even king g3 is good. Knight h4, slightly more natural move, but you're actually blocking your, I'm saying actually too much, you're blocking your play along the h-file with the king and the knight now. I really wanted to clear the h-file to finish him off. Fortunately, this is just a straight up mate and winning the queen. g6 check. I would have probably played bishop takes f7, threatening mate in 1. Therefore, expecting like queen takes f7. He'll have g6 here. He could put up some kind of bogus resistance, I guess. But anyway, it's like half a dozen of one, 6 of the other. You're winning completely. Yeah, this is a safe move. Good enough. Oh no. Bishop. That's not nice. You should just checkmate him. Bishop there, and then what? Getting fancy. Alright, man. That was probably one of the better games we've seen from Azerbaijan. Very good game overall. He never really gotten into trouble, and the end was a pretty win. Okay, we're gonna go on to Clash Kid, which is a serious game. Where are you, Clash Kid? You came from Soltigo's link. So this is a live game where Clash Kid is black. Let's look at it from his perspective. d4, d5. Guys, I've got about 40 minutes left in the stream. I'm going to try to finish out any game analysis as we can. So don't challenge me to any more games. He chose the bishop. Maybe he didn't have... Most people have like auto queen enabled. It would have been easy. But I think I have auto queen turned on. Slav. Yeah, you don't run into the knight c3 very often. This is like, in a sense, like a really aggressive move. I think Korchnoi liked to play knight c3. But really, Clash Kid, I think you should investigate d takes c4, because this is, as far as I know, like one of the kind of professional ways that people deal with knight c3. There's a lot of independent variations in this position, but this is sort of like the way that we try to exploit knight c3 with the early grab on c4. It's easy to go ahead and transpose to a normal semi-Slav or whatever, but look at the statistics for black here. I mean, I believe in statistics. D takes c4, it has a higher winning percentage for black than any of the other variations. Okay, except for this is statistically irrelevant. Bishop f5. On the other hand, okay, white's winning percentage is a little higher than, well, it's a little higher than knight f6, but it's not a bad statistical chance there. 24% for black. Knight f6 and then e3. I don't know, that seems weird to me. Like, you play knight c3, it's this macho gambit style move, and then you turn around and play e3 the next move. What is that about, you know, if you think about it? Okay, there's some specialty move orders for white. I think that e3 is a passive system, more or less, but he can transpose. He transposes the semi-Slav. I don't know what the theory here says is best. I mean, it's a specialty variation. Maybe bishop f5 isn't so good in this position? That's the question. Because of these queen b3 type of lines, or cd. This variation is, I guess, kind of problematic. This may be why a lot of Slav players don't want to play this with black. It's probably okay, but like it's a kind of annoying exchange variation version. Okay, well, anyway, e6 looks like a good move. What other suggestions do we have for black, really? Nothing special. a6 Slav, if you want. e6, knight f3, now bishop e7. What are we doing with bishop e7? What is bishop e7 about? I mean, this is the beauty of the semi-Slav, right? I mean, there's so much fun stuff. I don't play it for black, but I have played against it. So much fun stuff in the semi-Slav. I just can't imagine playing anything other than knight on bd7 here with black. You can play a6, which we had something like that the other day by transposition, but the semi-Slav is such a dynamic opening for black. I can't imagine not playing that. What's bishop e7 about? This is a really, really rare move. The best game is my friend Zlatko Linčić drew against Kasimdzhanov. Don't know what Zlatko was even doing there. Zlatko doesn't even play the semi-Slav. That's weird. He played like some weird... I don't know what he's doing there. Just making stuff up over the board. Yeah, so you just don't see this move played by anybody, basically. I don't know. And then takes on c4, knight on bd7. You're playing the semi-Slav with your knight on, or your bishop on the wrong square, on e7. I mean, it's supposed to be on d6 where it's more active. And now castles. This is passive. They're probably b5, you know, with the idea of bishop b7 is more usual. Anish Giri winning. Giri, the ultimate Kramnik second. They understand each other perfectly. Trust me, it's a good team. b6 now. And black has just drifted into a passive position. You know, this move played by this random Spanish guy who's an IM now. But bishop f4 seems really random to me. I'm okay, it's a nice diagonal, but it doesn't really have anything to do with the position strategically. You know, you really don't see any kind of ideas with that bishop on f4. He's just controlling the diagonal like it was a Caro-Kann or something. But I probably wouldn't play bishop f4. It's much more normal to do like queen e2, I would say. Like Andreas. Bishop f4 is playable, okay? Bishop b7, queen c2. Why do we want our queen on c2? Like some kind of cheapo ideas with cheapo ideas against the h7. Cheapo potential. But on the other side of the coin, there's his queen, which is in the wrong position along the c file. Thus, the stockfish suggestion here of rook c8, which seems very relevant. Black's position is unpleasant. I don't like it, and I wouldn't want to play this way with black, but But being in that situation, I mean, it's hard to recommend something better than trying to exploit the position of his queen on c2. This is weakening, and it stops knight g5, but, you know, it's like the frying pan and the fire analogy. The last time that happened to me was against, it was a Caro-Kann against Ziadinov, where I let him do like bishop takes h6. It's really like that sacrifice is almost likely to happen in the next 10 moves, I would say, if white plays really well. This is sort of mental. H4 is like really a little bit insane, not very not very smooth. Just sensible moves here, please, like rook d1. Black's not going anywhere. You don't need to play like a caveman with white, and it probably weakens white's position in some sense. H4, I'm happy to see that now. We know that our opponent is a caveman, and he doesn't know how to play like subtle positional chess. Rook e8, it's passive, but we'll accept that. And then a4, h4. Man, white is 2100, but he doesn't really have much control. Randomly, oh, this move though. Okay, I don't like knight b8. Clash Kid was not in the right frame of mind when he played this game. He was not himself. I mean, it's still like rook c8 probably, for example. It's very unpleasant to play, like, you know, in a paralytic sort of state here, but white has to show something in this position. White has to act first. a6 is also good. I just don't like h4. I don't like a4 either, but this guy doesn't know what to do, you know. But this move is it's an atrocity. Knight b8. I mean, you're barely hanging on as it is in terms of like controlling the center, and I just think that it's all we can do. It's really all we can do, you know, to hope to like trade off a knight that comes to e5 here. We can't imagine going here. I see your plan, I guess. You want to go out to a6 and then put your knight on b4? That is really extreme. I mean, in a position where you have no space and white has such central control, to maneuver like that looks almost impossible, that white doesn't have something strong. Now he kind of crossed your plans and you decided to go with bishop a6 trading pieces. That's a good decision though. You know, black is worse. Black is clearly worse, but I like this idea to trade pieces. White's play, you know, he doesn't have a plan. It's apparent. This was a good idea. Now finally knight e5. Now that's going to be hard to get rid of now that our knight is on b8. Well, you answered that question. So if our opponent was a computer, he would have played bishop takes e6. In the simul, I would expect to face bishop takes e6. This looks like one of my simul games with black. It's not surprising that this works, though. F takes e6, queen takes e6 check. Only move. Clash Kid probably analyzed this and just figured, well, I don't see a knockout blow for white, so I'm going to allow it, I would guess. But even Stockfish isn't coming up with a really convincing line here. Yes, white is better, but where's the forced win? So, okay. I'll accept that. Bishop takes, queen takes. I don't know which way is better. Knight c4. This is a mature move by white, keeping pieces on the board. This is like the best move he's made. There are two things I'll give white credit for. Well, you know, generally controlling the center and keeping the tension to some degree, and now keeping the pieces on the board. There was some weakening style to these h-pawn, a-pawn moves. But this cedes the d5 square. Where is he going now? In there? That's got to go. But come on now. Black's position looks almost defensible. Knight c6. Yeah, this is tricky. This is tricky. I mean, I understand you want to blockade on d7. But the problem is, obviously the problem is, white's going to put a rook on the c file and then put it on c7. So that seems to be a serious issue. The blockade with knight d7 may not be enough. So we have to go here and try to bring like queen back and try to blockade with the queen. If we play knight c6 and blockade with the queen, I'm still worried that he's going to have some kingside attacking chances like queen f3, queen g4, and what have you. Yes, he might still have that type of stuff. But we're also keeping him busy by threatening d4. So this was really the losing move in a sense. Once white gets that down there, you like can't take it because you're like paralyzed. He didn't even see it. He did not even see this idea coming down on the 7th. He plays rook e1. What is rook e1 about? Just a massive loss of time in this position. I mean, you've got to get there quickly to the c7 square with white. This is like a second chance for Clash Kid to stay alive here. Somehow it feels a little strange to move this rook to c8 now. I don't know. Maybe rook a c8. Maybe queen b7. And I'd certainly, you know, at least passing glance at queen c4, but I think... Man, if we get the queens off the board, we might be able to survive here. I was concerned he'd have a good way to avoid the exchange of queens. But white is sort of, yeah, queen e3. Now there's the sacrifice on h6 hanging in the balance. It's not so easy. Trading pieces. That's good. That's good. What? And Clash Kid's endgames have been good. Does he have some d5 pawn sacrifice or something? It's not going to work, is it, to do this? It's interesting, isn't it, to play d5, try to break through. Apparently this is playable. But he chose to go here. Black's got to be very happy now. I mean, to be alive at this point. And we're very close to consolidating. I'm surprised Clash Kid lost this. Must have been like a blunder. Damn. Looks like we could recapture either way. If rook takes, rook b3, b4, rook takes d4, bishop d2, or something like that. Hard to decide which way to take back there. I feel a little more comfortable with the rook takes. But then again, you also have to calculate like rook a3, rook b3. It's nice to keep the pawn behind the rook. You must have made some kind of crushing blunder. But your king needs to get into the game. So what can we do here? The safest move was rook c6. After rook c6, you're not going to lose, it looks like. Maybe the sense of danger kind of went out the window here, somehow, for black. The sense of danger. F6 is still an option. You got to be careful. So he blundered here. It's so tragic. Just a tragic loss. Did I say? No, not me. Magnus knows 10,000 games by heart. That's kind of frightening. I don't think I know any games by heart. You'd have to really drag them out of me. Over the course of my life, I like remember my last game and like one or two. This guy was challenging me, but I can't take any challenges now. Let's go back to who we got left. Ace. Ace is a subscriber. Ace 1886. So that was really sad, man. I'm sorry that you lost that game, Clash Kid. That was ridiculous. I mean, you play so tough against me, you know. And this guy was inconsistent. You know, he played kind of well in some ways, but kind of badly in others. He didn't really deserve to beat you. The game ended a draw because my opponent offered a draw, and I thought it was worse in the final position. Any comments are appreciated. I was white. Okay. So far, so normal. We'll call this the main line of the London system, I guess. You know, you know how old this position is? It goes back 100 years. Rubinstein had games with both colors, probably. But Rubinstein with white, the first one to play this successfully, like at a high level. There was a game he had with like Dosudmirsky. There were several games really in Rubinstein's career where he played this particular position with white. So it's not a new idea. It's a 100-year-old position. It looks like B6 is overtaking Queen E7. Rubinstein's claim was that Queen E7 was the best move. Like we have two ways. Black has two ways of playing for E5: Queen C7 and Queen E7. But after Queen C7, obviously, we allow D takes C7. This may be a real position, huh? Maybe I accidentally discovered a good defense for black. Why would Pop Gabor play this against Robert Marcus if it wasn't good? Rubinstein's argument was that the queen on E7 was better. But it makes you wonder, if black is going to play E5 anyway. Problem is the H file here. Kosic against Jakub Attila. All the best games are played here in Budapest. Top two. H6. Yeah, anyway. It's a little afield for the topic at hand here. Queen E7 is another line. But you know, Queen E7, Knight E5, Knight D7. This was my game with Kosic last April, where I was black, and this is a funny position. Like after Knight takes D7, you have to take with the queen. Jakub Attila blundered, and a lot of people have blundered this trap. It's really pretty. It happened in the last tournament I played in December. Bishop takes, pawn takes, D takes C5. Even Shanklin blundered this. Bishop takes H7 check. Here, check. This is a forced win for white. Here, King G8, Knight E4, Galiash against Jakub Attila. So no matter how many times people keep falling for this trap, there's always somebody new who comes along and rediscovers it. Even I knew about it. You know, that's how well known it is. But apparently, I guess, in this line, Knight takes D7, Queen takes D7. I guess white can still try to play with like D takes C5, Bishop takes C5. But the vast majority of games are draws. So this seems like a really solid way for white to continue. I'm black, I mean. A really solid line for black. That's what Kosic and I decided. Anyways, back to the game. So black played B6. And I think the idea here is in some cases to play like bishop b7, knight e7, and there was a really good game by Michael Adams I saw a couple years ago where he played like against Karyakin and crushed him. Karyakin tried to castle queenside or something mental with the white pieces, but bishop b7, knight e7, knight f5, we can basically use the bishop and a knight to control e4 and try to slow white down. You know, it's not going to be so easy. We've got good pressure on e4 with the bishop on b7 and the pivot of the knight back to e7. That's the basic idea. But e4 right away. So in the tournament that I was playing in, Nikola Sedlak from Serbia was there. He wrote a book on the London system and he's playing it a lot. And I think he was playing queen e2, if I'm not mistaken, in this position. The queen e2 first. Carlsen, I don't know, you know, who plays this with white. Maybe, I don't see any Carlsen games. What about knight e5? Again, no Carlsen games. Why are there no Carlsen games in this position? I guess he just doesn't play the London system that often. He's just another guy getting on the bandwagon. But if Sedlak played queen e2, I guess that's probably an interesting move. No, e4 right away. This may be best though. Maybe Sedlak did play this. e4 right away. It seems hard for me to believe that bishop e7 is the best move for black in this position. I was so disgusted by that, but man, I wouldn't play this variation for black. Seriously. Sedlak had a game with Shredoyevich where he just crushed him. I thought that it was always unpleasant for black. Kamsky's had some games. Well, Nakamura has, what, 2 games in this position? Bishop e7. I don't know, man. I don't really like this for black. It feels like you're playing a kind of bad French or something. So I don't know. Okay, e4 looks good. Apparently there's bishop takes g3, which is only played very rarely. Bishop takes g3, h takes g3, and h6 by Yagopov. Well, at least you have the benefit of trading pieces here, but I mean, it does look better for white, admittedly. Yagopov won in this position, but theoretically, he's traded off black's good bishop. It's like a French. That's an achievement. And I guess white just lost because he lost, not because of the opening necessarily. So anyways, I don't know. If I face this again, I'll play queen e7. But here, bishop d3, b6, e4. I don't trust this. This is several games from Sedlak that I saw. But obviously this is very strange. Knight g5. I thought queen e2 still. 2 Kamsky games. Kamsky versus Moradiabadi. And that's recent. And Kamsky 2 games recently with queen e2. There was a game where he massacred someone that I did a video about on chesslecture.com. There was a Kamsky massacre. But I don't remember. Maybe it was like last year's Aeroflot tournament or something like that. I don't remember this Taborsky, though. It was weaker. That guy's a stronger opponent than that. How about a3? That's apparently played a lot to keep control of b4. Kamsky's not in the list here. But a3 is a useful move to keep him off of b4. That looks good. a3, a5, trying to play bishop a6. It's still a French. Queen e2, stopping bishop there. And then black needs to find a move here. Still no Kamsky games. Grishuk versus Nakamura. Ferenc Burkish couldn't win a game. But I still like white, if you have to ask me. I don't like this. Looks creepy for black. But what's knight g5? So this is Van Foreest and Hambleton have played this. I mean, it's nice, it's forcing, but is it good? Let's see. Bishop takes g5. Queen takes h5. g6. I think that Van Foreest is, you know, a little bit of a maniac. I I don't really like his style very much. But, okay, he's 2600. Queen e2. I mean, Hambleton beat John Watson. Okay, let's think about this now. Watson is like a stroke survivor. He's an IM who was 2400, a solid 2400. He's not well, and he's older. He lost to Ahmad Hambleton, who's like a bullet chess genius. But look at the position. Like, objectively, Watson is an opening expert. He went for this variation with black against the Lenin system, and he seems to know what he's doing. So obviously Watson lost this position, but not because of the opening. It looks like it's approximately even. And Van Foreest winning against Fane, I would be more interested in that game. I guess subjectively, White has slightly better attacking chances. C takes d4, h4. It's all theory. Bishop h6. Yeah, this might well be sensible. I'm very afraid to trade this off here. I would imagine Svane wouldn't trade on d2. If I'm going to make a guess here, I'd say Watson took on d2 check. But let's see. Nope. Svane took on d2. Watson was concerned about defending. Watson's a French player. But I thought that Svane wouldn't take either. This looks very dangerous to take on d2 to me. Bishop takes d2, queen takes d2. Winning a pawn, but your dark squares are all kinds of weak. I don't like this. I agree with you and John Watson not to trade on d2, but Watson went here. And there's something to be said for this, because your bishop is kind of hanging on the h-file, and the other thing is that the bishop looks both ways. But it's still a little bit of a scary position. Obviously Hambleton tactically outplayed him later on. It looks like queen g4 could be. Let's see, d takes c3, b takes c3. Okay, king g7 looks kind of dangerous, but maybe a good move. But queen g4 looks very scary. Maybe almost winning by force if White has an extra tempo here. King g7. And then Hambleton did it anyway. There really aren't a lot of other moves. g5. Man, John played perfectly. h6 check, king h8. And now Hambleton played this crazy knight e4. Is this even sound? Bishop d7. And then castles kingside? That's a really strange move. Wow. Okay, I don't have time to go over the entire Hambleton-John Watson game, but it's safe to assume that Watson knows what he's doing, and he lost because he's not in good health or something like that. But objectively, I think that he was kind of swindled here. Although Hambleton has some compensation, it doesn't seem like White should necessarily be better. Your game where you played a novelty with bishop g7, bishop h6, is a new move, and then h5. Okay, the problem is that your bishop is attacked on the h-line, but on the other hand, it may not be a bad thing. You have the ability to play g5. You have the ability to play king g7 and rook h8. So, in fact, maybe you come up with a new idea here that's very relevant theoretically, playing bishop h6. Here you play g5. It's not forced. You could also exchange on c3 first, apparently. What's going on here? Does White have anything? No. He has to take back. You gotta ask yourself, it's like Ancient Aliens, I always joke. You gotta ask yourself, why not exchange on c3 first before playing g5? Why not destroy White's pawn structure? So, there really is no argument for not taking on c3. After h5, you gotta take here. Why not? You're just jeopardizing his pawn structure. You play g5 instead. But this seems like a beneficial exchange, and then you can decide what to do. Maybe you want to risk it with king g7, or maybe you want to play, this blocking it up. Watch out for the Hambleton tactic here, obviously. Pawn takes e4, queen takes e4, f5, or what? Oh my gosh. So this apparently saves the day. It's like, sorry, Aman, but you're lost in this position. I'm defending everything. Yeah. It would work in bullet chess for white, no doubt, but anyway, good game, man. It's just like a very interesting new move, bishop h6 here. So, oh, I know you were white in this game. I'm just saying, like, maybe I talked about it like it was. I like black because yeah, I'm saying it like you're black. I was thinking you're black. I don't know why. I guess I like black better. I forgot that that you were white in somewhere midway through the game. Sorry about that. You're actually white. Yeah, I'm giving you credit for a good novelty here. Who was this opponent? 2281. My apologies. Well, I wanted to think the best of you. You came up with a new novelty. Anyways, it still looks like both sides played this really well. And he should exchange on c3. But taking the draw here for either side is reasonable. I mean, I was projecting on you being black because I'm used to being black against the London system. I never play it with white, so projected you into where I would be. h5, yeah. So g5, knight e4. Oh, that's just my analysis. The game was agreed draw after g5, right? Or not? There was actually knight e4 played. This was actually played. Oh, that's crazy. Okay, that's another story. So knight e4 may be over the top. I don't know. You can just play this apparently. Maybe there's like knight h2, knight g4 even later on. It's pretty radical. I mean, I don't think you should agree to a draw in a vacuum because it's an interesting game, but I don't think the draw is a bad, incorrect result here. Okay, let's go on to, we've got everybody from the subscribers who sent in a game, I think. I'm just going to go on Serbia and Santa Claus game here for a minute. He's not a subscriber, but we'll give him a break and take a look at his game here. He's a strong player. Serbia and Santa Claus, this is Rapid Rated, played 5 days ago. So Serbian, what do we got? The Catalan. Catalan. Say it like a Spaniard. I have to channel the ghost of Alexander Wojtkiewicz here. With c6, the Catalan against the Semi-Slav. Wojo was an expert with both sides. You gotta admit, you gotta say to yourself, bishop e4 is kind of a strange move here. He's gonna have to go back to, I think he's gonna have to go back to e7. Really, I mean, with all those pawns on white squares, does it make sense to trade your dark squared bishop off? I don't think so, you know. If you're just gonna misplace my bishop on d2 and then go back to e7, I guess it's okay. But I gotta believe it's not good to trade bishops here. Wojtkiewicz versus somebody with the white pieces. What a surprise. Yeah, that's probably a good instructive game to go over. If you want to check like how to play this with white, Serbia and Santa Claus. Wojo versus Zucchelli, Massimo. But anyways, I mean, obviously black should play bishop e7, or maybe bishop d6 for that matter, but something. Not trading the dark squared bishops. Now he has no way to retreat. I mean, it's going to go back here. I mean, that's kind of weird. I don't like a3. a3 is not a constructive move, sir. So you want to make constructive moves, multi-purpose moves. Queen c2, castles, either way. I mean, I guess even knight c3 wouldn't be that bad. Why not develop a piece? Even that's not a bad move. But a3 doesn't doesn't construct anything for white. It constructs some weaknesses on the white squares a little bit, I think. This is a debatable moment where I don't know if you're supposed to take back with the queen or the knight. The knight seems a little more natural here because the c4 is hanging. But you took back with the queen. Probably playing too fast here. Santa Claus, are you berserking? Yeah, I mean, okay, bishop b4 is normal, c6 is inaccurate, but I don't think that it's such a bad move, the c6. It's maybe, useful from transpositional standpoints for people who play the semi-Slav. It's not a pure Catalan. Well, it was, wait, yeah, it was a Catalan move order. Yeah, he played c6. But you could reach this position from another move order, So let's just pretend. Let's just pretend it's not a normal Catalan, Why would you take with the queen there? I mean, you want your knight on c3, but this is a little more natural. He got his knight to a good square. You can always consider taking this, I think. You can consider trying to take it, but he doesn't, okay? Yeah, it's a pity to have to exchange on d5. But what else? We're running out of things to do here. Just running out of things, useful things to do. So you're going to have to make a decision at some point. This move is, I don't like it. I like the cleaner recapture with the c-pawn, the exchange variation of the Slav, and it's really going to be hard for white to get much going on with a symmetrical structure. So this is a double-edged move. I don't really see black having a reason to do this, to imbalance the structure in a position where he's basically like slightly worse. He should take back with the c-pawn. This is fine. And we're getting into the middle game now. We're Soltigo, I want to say. Santa Claus is good in practical chess. But admittedly, white's advantage is not too much. F5 is a horrifying move. Putting more pawns. We need more pawns on white squares, and maybe weaken the dark squares a little bit more for black. This is a horrible Stonewall Dutch after f5. But if he doesn't do that move, his position isn't that bad. It looks like it's defensible and not much worse. Just slightly worse for black, but he should be able to hold. But f5 is crazy. Now Serbian Santa Claus got carried away with tactics. I don't want to just be like clearly better positionally. I want to play some kind of crazy move to randomize the game. And that's what happened. So it's fun and it's nice, but it's not practically the right way to play. And now let's see. So what's the point here? Can we trap something? Well, you got to admit that it doesn't seem obvious at first, but it's queen d6. I'm not looking at the engine, but it has to be queen d6, rook takes b7, queen c6. And if you missed that, then you thought you were just smoking black here. I thought this was the only defense. But apparently this is inaccurate because of the genius queen f4. Nobody would find this. The only thing, that's amazing, but the only thing that works is actually this move, avoiding the perils of queen f4, and then rook takes b7, queen c6, and black is slightly better. But we'll forgive Serbian Santa Claus for missing that insane idea. Now it's just like a really complicated situation. Yeah, even this is not so easy. Computer loves it for white, but this is like one of those games from the candidates tournament where it's like plus 1.7, but even Kramnik or Grisha can't win, or Aronian. It's okay, the computer says plus 1.7, but that's like, this is a practical game. I don't think it's so easy for white at all here. I wouldn't really consider myself to have that big of an advantage, probably. So it's not so simple. This is strong. Queen d6, queen d4. Is this enough? Again, there's like a crazy tactical resource. He played queen d5 though. I mean, I wouldn't have seen this knight here, or maybe I would on a good day. Okay, it's not that difficult. But I would have played this probably, and then the question is this ending. Are we winning or not? I think. Very promising for white, but not that easy. Not 100% winning. So maybe queen b4 was kind of impulsive. I don't know. It's a tempting move. But you might have given away a good chunk of your advantage. Double attack. Allowing the bishop b7. Oh my god. This is entertaining. Because apparently you had a forced win, but that's the computer again. That's pretty strong. You should have seen that though. Grishuk would have seen that. Queen a4 here. f3. And then it's still a battle now. This is really a battle. I mean, he has almost enough material. Trying to trade queens is good. Yeah, now we're in endgame mode. Good chances. Rook on the 7th. We've got 2 pawns for the 2 pieces in the rook. Rook and 2 pawns is good. Good chances to get 2 connected pass pawns in the center. I mean, a grandmaster might be able to defend this for black, but it's not easy at all. I would have gone back to c1. I think this is safer. No, but you got to remember there's a back rank mate on the 8th here. So this was defending e2. But I guess his rook can get attacked or something. Okay, this is good enough. Here, that's what I was afraid of. Rook d7. Here, that's what I was afraid of as well. But you're down on the 7th. Good judgment. You can't even play bishop takes e2 because of rook e7. So, I think the opening was kind of not well played by you, Serbian Santa Claus, but everything else pretty good, except for that one mistake. What was it, knight c5? He has knight c5. This was another tactical oversight. So, how was your time? You had like 3 minutes. It was an interesting battle, but I think you can play better. What's up? I can't be at 2500 unless I beat one. That's true. That's probably true. I meant FIDE 2500. Of course you can. What are you talking about? I think the way the FIDE rules are going, you're going to be able to be a GM without ever beating one. You know, they're handing out GM norms for tournaments where no one was over 2200, like Scholastic tournaments and stuff. Get 3 of those, you become a GM without ever playing a GM. I mean, who knows what's possible? But yeah, you could do it. Anyway, guys, I gotta run. Thanks for watching the subscriber stream tonight. I'll be back tomorrow morning. It's Friday, Fast Friday, open challenges against everyone. I will be back then, 10 a.m. CET. You guys in the US still have the time change difference, so keep that in mind. I want to thank everyone for subscribing. Please resubscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. Check out the videos. I upload them on YouTube. Video chess training on YouTube. I've also got an opening for a couple of students. If anybody wants to take lessons, at least one more. I have like one more opening. If someone wants to seriously take lessons every week or every other week, send me an email, videochesstrainer@gmail.com. Otherwise, I want to thank everyone for subscribing. Thanks for supporting the stream with donations on PayPal, here on lichess, not on lichess, but on Twitch and on YouTube. Thanks, Soltigo, for moderating, and sorry we didn't get to your game today. I will see you guys tomorrow morning, and thank you for watching. Interesting games today. 10 a.m. tomorrow. Be there. Bye-bye.